like wanting to talk. There's always like distractions, you know, and
the world around you is acting similar to the movie itself.
A little bit, yeah.
Which I mixed up a little potion before this, some herbs and some water. Mixed it up. So if I start acting weird, that's why.
Let's go on a journey, yeah. Tell us what you find in the dream world.
This is definitely not what you thought it was.
Down here, I'm all up and down and into
we're a little loopy.
So loopy.
Should we mention the Substack up top?
Oh, yeah.
You can find this on the website on unauthorizedpod.com, but we've got some more long form pieces for you to read. And you'll only find that on Substack.
That's right. Did you add yours? Is it going to be added by the time this comes out?
Sure. Sure. I'll commit to that. Why not?
We need a couple features from the boys themselves, you know? Nice. Well, I bet we better see your review on the incredible.
If you want some more thoughts on Out One, yes.
If you liked Céline and Julie, you might like 12 more hours of it. I'm just kidding.
You might want to go to the experts, the film historians, the French New Wave enthusiasts for your opinions of these fanciful 16mm low budget French films, but some like it unauthorized. And I am Jay Brooks Young.
And I'm Zach Domes.
And here it is, Céline and Julie Go Boating. Phantom Ladies over Paris.
Okay. You got to tell me first. How did you like it? What'd you think? What were your thoughts, feelings?
It was an uphill climb. I'll say, you know.
Literally?
Like, what?
Like there's a sequence of her running uphill for like
yes.
10 minutes.
In heels. Right. Yeah. Just like, be so for real right now. You're going to climb this hill. But then she actually does it.
She does. And then they do it with roller skates at the end.
Yeah, roller skating uphill. That's pretty crazy too. No
wonder you're so tired.
Why? Because this film ate up my whole evening. Oh my goodness! It's just, gosh, you know. You know what's a good movie? Daisies. You know how long Daisies is? I don't know if it's even 90 minutes long.
Fireman's Ball.
It's an hour 14. Daisies is an hour 14.
Hour 14.
It's almost a third of this movie. And just, right, like we're really in kind of Out One mode, running around, just spouting off the most inane improvised dialogue through like the first hour of this thing. Then it gets interesting. I'm still not like in love with the later portion when they're exploring this strange dream world and trying to solve a mystery. But it's interesting. It's a lot more sort of substantial and kind of inventive than the type of filmmaking that he was doing in Out One. But I don't love this film. I don't. Good.
I'm glad we finally have a film that we're talking about that you're not a huge fan of, because I do feel like sometimes with these things, it's like, especially if you're picking films that other people have thought of as some of the best, we tend to only really have good things to say about it. And I'll ask a question a lot of times. I've asked on previous episodes what doesn't work or what didn't work. Like there's so many things that do work well with a lot of the other films that we've talked about that I'm like, okay, well, anything that doesn't work, but okay, so here we go. We have one that We have one that doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, we missed the chance to talk about Cries and Whispers, which is probably my biggest dud from the Sight and Sound that I've watched so far. No, I think this is interesting. I see why people like it, and you get the fun antics, right? I called out Daisies because it's an obvious comparison point, and Jacques Rivette said as much. He was a big fan of that movie. But that's the backbone of this film, is this friendship between these two characters and them kind of getting into these antics and goading each other on and having fun, laughing at it, and nothing's too serious here. Like, it's all fun. It's all fun and games. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, no, I think one of the things you are striking on there is there a bit too much fluff with a movie like this, given its long runtime? And I personally felt that way with A Mother and the Whore that we talked about in a previous episode. And Out One, of course, it's like the most extreme case for this question of is every shot necessary? When I think of like a perfect film, personally, a question that rings to my mind about that judgment, it would be, is every shot in this film necessary? Is every shot as long as it should be? And if I pulled on any of it, I sliced anything out or took anything out, would it affect the overall kind of essence or feeling to the film? And if I feel that way about it, I'm like, well, it's perfect. To me, it's perfect because every shot was perfect and yada, yada. But with this kind of filmmaking where things feel a bit more spontaneous and candid and playful, it does feel like you end up with shots that kind of drag on too long. And there'll be some people who go, there's something being captured in that moment because they're totally captivated by the relationship between the two lead characters and the mystery and the playfulness of it all. So they're wrapped up in it. Obviously, to somebody who's totally invested, they won't feel like a minute was wasted. But if you weren't reeled in and you weren't pulled into the magic of it and what Rivette is establishing, then you will end up feeling like scenes drag on, that it's an uphill battle. And I find that that's what happens with these French New Waves because they were so experimental. There's times when you're hooked and it's so new, even decades later, it still feels fresh and new with the jazz playing in the background. But it's a hit or miss. Some French New Wave directors work for some people and some French New Wave directors don't. I think that's been my takeaway, having started with the French New Wave guys, several years ago, and getting into these 70s. It's like, yeah. And to say one other thing to that, my guess to all this is that if we compared this to A Mother and a Whore, I think that this is more my cup of tea than that is, and then as we talked about for that episode, what they're doing with that movie, A Mother and the Whore, was more your cup of tea.
Yeah, it ended up being, and I might have even talked about Out One and what I didn't like about this style in that episode, but no, I do feel similarly, or came out feeling similarly about some of those French New Wave films. Going through a bunch of the 60s Godard films last year, more often than not, it felt like the experiment is the point of the thing, and the end product is kind of the secondary thought to that. And that if you just, try to meet it on like narrative terms or just like aesthetic terms, it just wasn't as interesting. And yeah, it would pull apart more easily. And it's hard to like look at that from our context and get some sense of like what it felt like to watch it at the time and to be excited by, this opening up of possibility when you saw a movie that was so unlike other movies. That's what your experience might have been seeing it then. But
and you're talking about Out One, or talking about
like Godard, but you can extend that to a lot of these new wave guys because they're all trying to do something that hasn't been done in their own different ways. And Rivette, how he kind of differed from Godard and the other guys was that he really fell in love partway into his career with this sort of actor-driven improvisational style and letting the actors kind of come up with these characters and maybe do some of those exercises like you see in Out One, but just, try to find something interesting to play and make up the movie as you go along doing that. And I don't know.
Yeah. That's great. I was saying, because I've been thinking about this, like, what does it mean when a film's loved and yet there's so much of the shots are kind of extended, or there's shots when you don't even know why that's in there. And my thought is, okay, well, if every shot isn't necessary, then it is in the name of experimentation, which means it's in the name of discovery and trying something new. So you sacrifice what's necessary for trying something new, because also what's necessary is sort of, to some extent, drawn. The rules of what's necessary are drawn by previous filmmaking. Do you know what I mean? Like, so to do something new, like the French New Waves were doing, meant to not worry about like what's a necessary shot. It's like, just throw this in and let's keep the camera rolling and let's try this. And so, and let's see what happens when we do that. See if we find anything new. And so, they don't have these not perfect projects, but they're projects that are endlessly inspiring to future filmmakers.
Yeah. And I think the invisible thing is that sort of process of editing after the fact, or, just after shooting some of the stuff, but like then deciding, let's kind of put some sort of structure around it, of the like opening and closing of, the one woman chasing the other one, and then we can reverse the roles at the end and make it this little like Mobius strip thing, right? Like the editing and kind of deciding what you're going to do with this material that you make more improvisationally is really crucial to is this something that engages the audience, or does it just feel like something that just got slapped together last second? And like the filmmaker for me that does this just expertly is Agnes Varda. Like in so many of her films, there is a sense of improvisational creating of these scenes and stuff, but then she'll throw in something that's like, okay, what was the budget for this? Like, how did she get this location or what? Like, this seems like it really had to be planned out, but it's this really quick tossed off thing. And there's a melding there of this stuff that feels very creative and just sort of non sequitur and stuff. But like, there's a really deceptive and kind of interesting degree of like editing and I don't know, working over of that material that makes it really like interesting to get sucked into. And I don't know, these Rivette films, at least I've only seen Out One and this and part of his first film, Paris Belongs to Us, but it doesn't, for me, it has a little less of it. This feels closer to like a Varda film, especially with the dream world and them kind of going back into that over and over again. There's some trickiness there of, they're obviously shooting these scenes multiple times and the actors have to match their performances with different characters playing the same roles in the scene, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but you don't get there until an hour of, the sort of antics just out in the real world to start.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent. Well, yeah, if you edited down Out One, which I think that there is an edited version of that, but if you edited that down, I feel like you'd get a movie like Céline and Julie. This feels like a lot of like what he was doing with that, but just like no, 20-minute sequences of people doing choreograph practice. Also, yeah, you're saying you're more of a left bank guy. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know where I guess
Agnes
Rivette.
was, yeah.
Well, yeah, Varda's left bank along with Elaine, Renee, and Jacques Demy. But right bank is full of guys that are very different from each other.
True.
From Godard to Truffaut to this, so
I don't think there's no real difference. But yeah. See, I loved the first part of this though. I felt so I was captivated from the beginning, and then it slowed down at like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Because I was kind of like, oh, you're chasing after this girl. You're like wondering where they're going. They're going up that hill, as we said. And then once this starts kind of time starts cutting in and out, I was like, after the first hour, through the middle portion of the film, I was like, what is going on here? And French New Wave does that sometimes. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like certain details that just you gotta pay attention to really pick up on. And even then you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
And I don't know. There's something where I feel like Rivette betrays his own instincts for making something mysterious that you have to really concentrate on. Because by the end of this and by the end of Out 1, both times, he wants to explain it to you. He wants to give you the full sort of answer. I mean, you don't literally know what, like, phenomenologically is happening here. Are they entering a dream? Are they entering some ghost realm? Whatever. But you get the mystery gets solved. You know who killed the little girl and all of that. I don't know. Am I the asshole here? Like, I just want to pick apart everything about his style. And like, right from the beginning, I'm kind of annoyed by this because I feel like he is leaning into this like manic pixie dream girl thing especially with the Céline character. But just like, she's in the library drawing on picture books and making a bunch of noise, and I don't know. Like, Daisies has a very specific flavor to it because the context is that they live in Soviet or about to be Soviet controlled, Czechoslovakia or whatever. Like, there's a tense political situation going on. Like, what is the rebellion about here? Maybe I'm being very uncharitable, taking issue with it, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not well versed enough to know all of what everything in this means. I catch the obvious references of like what Céline and Julie are sort of watching a movie in a way. And this idea that watching a movie can feel like you're falling into it and becoming part of it, but your memory of it is weird and strange. So you keep trying to go back, or kind of like the way a drug experience is, how it's like full of loose ends. I don't know those questions that you're asking. And I'll say, like, again to mention A Mother and a Whore, that I didn't know what was going on much of the time either. But I didn't enjoy it. And with this, for whatever reason, I didn't understand everything going on, but I enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that there's some mystery, and then he gives that mystery away, but there's still more mystery, even though there's like some part of the mystery solved. I appreciated how they're taking these little gummies, and they take more and more. And at some point, they're in like the room together, and they're taking it. And they'll have the flashbacks or the glimpses into that house. And then they'll come back. And so about 2 hours in or so, there's that moment where they're both kind of going back and forth, back into the house. And then they come back. Like they're like watching a movie, literally.
Yeah. That straight on shot of them.
Yeah. And then the movie continues. And then they go back to the house. And then the people become ghosts. But then they wake back up they like snap out of it or something back to that room again where they were enjoying it. So you have this whole amount of time that was potentially just a trip that they were on. But what was fun about it was that Inception type of thing where it was like, are we just going, the trip is just going into another trip. It's like all trips all the way down, which is Alice in Wonderland. I mean, you're running in place. You feel like you're going forward, but you're just in the same place as you were the entire time. Yeah, for sure, it's frustrating at times, and for sure, it's not for everybody. But I just enjoy the trip, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an interesting idea I start to think about there, especially with the way that they reverse the roles at the end, and Julie is running across the park, and Céline then starts chasing after her, and the whole story starts over again. But it's like, here we have these girls who are kind of making fun of this melodramatic story that they've stumbled upon and taking the piss out of it in a way that a lot of people ascribe this sort of liberatory act or action to. Like, they're rebelling against these traditional sort of roles of women or depictions of women in older media, which is kind of like what that ghost story represents. But then yet these two are like trapped in their own story. They're trapped in this film. They are just this creation, this sort of manic pixie imagining of like what liberated womanhood is. And I don't know, it doesn't feel intentional, but it almost kind of like works for me then in that sense of just like, these are women who think they figured it out, but they've kind of like removed themselves from action in a political sense in the world now. Like they've gotten invested into this little, fantasy of theirs, and they get to be above it, but like, what bearing do they have on the real world? They're just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of working through these thoughts just now, but there's something strange there. Yeah.
The title of the movie is Céline and Julie Go Boating, and I guess in French, another meaning that can take on is getting caught up in a story that someone else is telling you. It's like you're just kind of drifting off. You're drifting away.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, if you have an idea like this, like if you're going to do a road movie or an adventure movie like this, where as you shoot, you're just kind of like, oh, what if this? And what if this happens? And one thing after another. And, oh, that would be funny if we did this. And it's the kind of sister filmmaking to that, to me, the twin filmmaking would be surrealism, where you're showing what comes to your mind. You're just kind of trying to portray whatever it is that comes up from your subconscious, whatever shows up. What I think is important there is that it has total freedom in that sense for interpretation. So now it's not, what was the director intending for? What did he mean? What did it mean? Does it have a purpose? It's more, this is freedom. This is creative freedom. And you get to, as the audience, as the person watching, you get to kind of interpret it the way you want, more so than you would with other movies, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can go back to those surrealist films and make something new out of it every time. Whereas like with a strong narrative film that's perfectly scripted and shot exactly as it's said, then it's like, then the critique would be, what was the director trying to say? But I think if you were to ask Rivette, what was he trying to say with these things, he would probably evade that question. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure, but
yeah, I think that's right. I think he didn't talk too much about his work. He was a more private, guarded kind of guy. And he wasn't, he's kind of a lesser known director, or at least just less discussed, I think, until into the like 2010s and stuff. It's interesting that he's taken on something of a bigger reputation, it feels like. And I guess it's just like, right, his stuff had kind of small releases before. It was very like low budget and independent, and a lot more people are able to see it now. And there's, I definitely like, you compare this to the Godard stuff, and I like these characters a lot more than I like the female characters in Godard films, for sure. If I'm like exploring new wave films and I go from one of his to this, like, yeah, I'll probably feel better about it. Yeah. I just can't I myself cannot like find so much to be invested in with this movie that I feel like it really belongs on a best of all time list, But some people feel that way about Daisies, or they feel that way about Portrait of a Lady on Fire or something, I get it. Well, we're all going to have these different films where it's like this speaks to something that other films don't speak to. And like that thing I value more than anything else. And I'm just going to put that, rocket that to the top. Because
I'm
looking for that one thing.
I know. I wonder, like, what were people's way in? What was their introduction to the French New Wave? Like, you got to wonder if, like, you had never seen any French New Wave film at all, and you watched this. I want to believe that this would have, in some sense, blown your mind, because if you hadn't seen any other French New Wave, then this would have been like very different from anything you've seen.
Yeah.
And you might be like, wow, this was incredible. But it's like if you go through every French New Wave movie made, and then you get to this, you're like exhausted. You watch like 4 Godards, you're like, this is all the same exact movie. What are we doing here, Godard? And that's just because in some sense you're falling into the Wes Anderson trap, which is there's something interesting being said here, but there's a style. It's stylized. It's French New Wave, and so it's hard to see through the style, as it is for some people with Wes.
Yeah. It's hard to see through the style. It's hard to like. A lot of this hinges on Juliette Berthoud, who plays Céline, and obviously Dominique Labourier is very important as well. But Juliette Berthoud, right, plays this one of the biggest roles in Out One. She was obviously like a favorite of Rivette's, and I don't like her acting. I just don't. Like, it all feels put on in a way where it's uninteresting to me. I'm waiting for the character to drop in some way, but it's all kind of like affectation, and there's not more of a thought there, but just it's tough. If you're watching his stuff, you're trying to like get into it and engage with it, and she's in so much of it, I always feel like she's playing this very like one-dimensional character, uninteresting, like just very not very well acted character.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if she was like an American actress. Like, I wonder what it'd be like to see her acting from the French point of view. Because for me, I don't feel that way, but it might just be because I'm kind of just enchanted by that French kind of spirit, this kind of playful French spirit that's in all of these movies.
I feel like she's kind of like a Dakota Johnson type.
Yeah.
And I like Dakota Johnson sometimes, but I feel like you have to cast her specifically because she has a similar aura of like very composed, very like guarded, and like putting on an affect for you. And when she's supposed to be like best friends with Julie, and they're doing this stuff together, I never feel like that affect is coming down. I feel like it's always she's performing, she's playing a character. I sound like the grouchiest asshole in this episode.
Yeah. What did you like about the movie? I just kidding. You mentioned a couple of things, but
yeah. There's fun stuff.
I gotta mention again, though, that La Belle Nuit that he does. Is it the 80s that he does it?
Is that like 91? That one?
Oh, okay. So much time after. The thing that kind of amazes me is he's a different director. Like a different person directs La Belle Nuit. Totally different person. Like almost in every way. So if you didn't like this, it would have there's nothing about this that would give you a sense of what you might get out of that movie that he does later. It's amazing to me that directors can be that versatile sometimes. And I actually think because of that reason, it's more a sign of like how free he really was with this movie. So like if this movie doesn't work, it's partly the acting, and the acting's being directed loosely. The whole thing is loose. The editing's loose, because if you watch The Belle Nuit, you come away from that feeling like you just watched something by a very serious director with a very mature direction, like somebody who's like immensely experienced, knows exactly what he's doing. Every shot feels important. You feel like you're there with the painter and the model, and it's like a radically serious film compared to this radically playful film. And he does, in my opinion, La Belle Nuit in a much better way. But I wonder if that's because I'm like looking for, like, I want it to be more like, do you feel like as you're watching this and you're feeling that the actress kind of be an actress, and you're not like, who's the character? Like it's just a flat character to some extent. Do you feel like you want it to be more serious?
That might be the case. I mean, again, I go to Varda. Like, I don't need her films to be serious all the time. I love, what's the LA one? Lion's Love.
Yeah.
Like that one, very silly. Very, very silly. I really prefer that to this. So it's not just like Out One kind of wants to be a little more serious, right? It wants to be about conspiracy and paranoia.
Yeah.
God,
I'm not sure what it wants. Still not sure what it wants to be.
Yeah, who really knows?
Who really knows?
No, I mean, like what you said before about how this is like surrealism, I think makes sense. Like, there's stuff you can get out of this just because it is so weird and out there, and they were just kind of free associating, and they were doing that from a place that feels like of wanting to make something kind of joyful and fun and liberating.
Yeah.
There's something that rubs me the wrong way with that, and maybe it's because we've looked at a lot of stuff now that deals with the kind of like 1968 protests and political movement and stuff. And we kind of have this perspective now of like baby boomers kind of tried for a little bit and then they sort of gave up on being politically active, or they just became conservative or whatever. But does that make this feel frivolous in a kind of way that just like rubs me the wrong way? Maybe. I don't know.
I had a friend once say that art's purpose was to be political. And I couldn't disagree more. Our art's purpose is more fundamental than that. One particular purpose, one specific sub-purpose, you could say, is to be political, but it's more fundamental. I mean, if you could say on a fundamental level, to make art is to be religious and political in a certain sense, which what I mean by that is you are, and this isn't a theory I have, thought of, but it's a theory I've read from some other person. I can't remember his name, but he said art and what was the other thing he said? Like raves or kind of spiritual ceremonies. It's all a use of resources in a way that is playful. So it's a kind of art uses resources, like it takes resources to like electricity and all this stuff to make film and oil to make paintings and all that stuff, right? But it's using it for a purpose that doesn't have intrinsically any value other than what we give it from somewhere we can't describe. Like if I'm selling a product to people, it has utility, there's a whole, what's the purpose of, a bike to get you from point A to point B. But what's the purpose of art? Well, it uses resources. It's a kind of FU to the whole system in some sense. Because here is society chugging along. Science is progressing. We're figuring out the atom. We're figuring out, how to make machines bigger and better and faster. And an artist comes along and says, what if we sat around and played a game and had fun and took drugs and did whatever we wanted? And the capitalist, looks down and says, no, you can't do that. And if you do that, we're going to tell you how to do it and what lines you might cross if you go too far and all that stuff. And the artist just keeps going, I don't know. Well, what if I did this? What if I tried that? And so sometimes you'll have your Battle of Algiers, but sometimes you'll have your Alice in Wonderland, where the art is not about, the system. The art is against the system fundamentally, but the art is about art. It's about reaching into the subconscious to find out what's there and reveal it in some sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think when I reflect on what you're saying here, I almost don't take issue watching this with a sort of lack of overt political message to it. I think it engenders in me a kind of like reaction against the sort of white liberal refrain of like, we win with joy, or like play to show them like they can't keep us down or something. Like there's something that the comfortable like person living in Western society reaches for that feels very nice, where it's just like, if I'm just like myself, I express myself and I'm playful, then I'm being like politically active. And that it feels like that becomes this crutch for feeling like you're doing something when you're not actually helping people around you or engaging with like what your government is doing, or stuff like that. I think that's a pattern that you start to see, in the decades following this movie in these Western countries. And there's something, I think it's like the reaction to this movie where people go like, oh, so liberating. Like, they're really just being playful. Like, how great is this? Where I like, it feels like that same sort of white liberal refrain to me. And it just rubs me the wrong way a little bit, I think. And that's, there's like a value to that in engaging with this art and feeling those feelings for me. Like that's interesting. There's that is where, this art is doing something for me. It's doing something very different from what it's doing for these people who love it and put it on their sight and sound list and write flowery essays about it. For me, I'm having a very different reaction watching these images and thinking about what, white liberalism and white feminism and stuff has been in the 50 years since this came out. That's just me being the Debbie Downer. I don't know. Maybe I was induced into such a negative reading from being so annoyed watching Out One. And again, I only watched Out One because I decided I wanted to be a completionist and watch all of the films on the Sight and Sound list. So like, maybe I'm just doing all this to myself. You know, maybe it's not that deep.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Trouble, I think, like you said with Daisies. Daisies has that sort of political. Does Daisies work if you don't include the B-roll footage of ships being blown up in the beginning and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Does it still work? Is that all you would have to add to a film like this? It's like an intro like that, but I would go back to that sort of thing where you can interpret this any way you want, and you can imagine there being maybe this isn't long enough. Maybe we needed 2 minutes of planes being blown up and an ending that said this is all for the victims of some horrific incident. But it's probably a matter of how, I'm gonna guess, how the whole thing unfolds and the way he directs what he's directing, because I'm sure there's movies that, like you said, there's probably movies that are fun and not political that you would you'd get down with, but this is not that. Like that's just one of the reasons, but another reason has to be that it just didn't work for you in various ways. Yeah.
Yes,
there's movies that are fun. You know what I mean?
There are things about it where I feel I had to remove, and yeah, like some of the antics are fun on their own, and I do laugh at them. But then there's like this whole movie around it that I feel like I have to interrogate its importance, and it's almost a joke on me because. Right? I think everyone loves it because it's not that serious. I don't know. I have a one film that will be fun to talk about eventually will be The Green Ray, the Eric Romer film, because a lot of his films, but especially that one, right, have focused similarly on like very self-involved characters. And, there's a kind of push-pull there of like, do I want to be spending my time with these characters that are kind of annoying and I maybe wouldn't even want to have like a conversation with in real life, but there's an interesting thing there where when you are stuck with them, if you're just like watching the film and not looking away, you do start to kind of go through your head like, why are they like this? Like, what brought them to this point? And I think it's interesting how we have this introduction of Julie as this librarian, but she's reading the book on magic and doing her tarot cards with the coworker and stuff, and like she kind of wants to get out of the normal world. It's like she almost wishes for this weird manic pixie magician to come into her life and for there to be a fun mystery for her to solve. And that's interesting, but it's like, I don't know, like what happened with this character where you just didn't want to engage with reality anymore. You just wanted to start to build these fantasies. It feels like you just wanted to believe in like magic and that you could kind of like conjure up something magical in your life.
Yeah, the answer is sort of revealed at the end there, potentially, where you're asking, what were you doing? What's the motivation to do that? Well, we know the motivation. The motivation is escapism. It's easy, it's desired because life is hard. So, we all have the desire to escape that which is hard, and we all have different ways of doing that. And some people go to drugs and other things. But what happens at the end? You're reverted right back to where you started. In some sense, the lesson is learned. If you go down some rabbit hole or you lean into escapism and the desire for escapism, you don't get anywhere. You start right back where you started. You know, so, you know, it's not like it ends with progress made in any sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, you see these reviews on Letterboxd all the time with like Breathless, and how, you know, the main character is sort of he's not an easy guy to follow around as a protagonist. He's a mean man, but he gets shot at the end. Spoiler alert. So, so what's, you know, that's the whole thing. It's like, what's crazier is movies that have a hard person that you're struggling to deal with, and it's like a happy ending. Those are the crazier movies that came long after Breathless that people ended up experimenting with, and those ones are hard. If you had this movie end with like, you know, they made $1 million off of selling tarot cards or something. Yeah, you know, so many people today are, you know, they profit off of escapism. You know, they
Well, yeah. And that's what's so interesting about the ending of this, right? It's like they get their happy ending. It's like, oh God, you know, they wake up from that trip back in the apartment. It's like it didn't work, but then go look in the bathroom. Who's that? It's the young girl. She's here. She came through to the real world. Let's go boating. But then it's like, there's that sort of ghost ship passing with the characters from the ghost story. And it's like, no, we actually exist in that same world. It's like we're trapped in this fantasy. We never left, sort of. And yeah, like where that escapism take you, you were in the same spot the whole time.
And then one of the best endings, one of the best last shots I've seen in a very long time.
The cat.
Yeah. You then realize this whole thing's just been going on in the cat's head. That's what cats are thinking about. This is why cats don't do anything all day. This is all of that cat's mind, this whole movie.
It's true. Yeah. They're operating on levels that we could not possibly understand.
No, these were feline levels.
Yeah.
The most feline you can get.
I said it while I was watching, but I wanted way more cats in it. Like we got the cat in the park who's like ready to pounce on the pigeon at the beginning. And I'm like, if it's 3 hours of this, I'm happy. I'm totally locked in.
That's how it was for me. I was like, no, same kind of thing. Like I was like back and forth the whole time. There'd be like, I was caught up in the beginning, and then there's like in and out. There'd be times where I go, I don't understand what's going on. This doesn't seem like that great of a movie. This will be hard to talk about. And then it would be like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is so fun. And then it'd be like, oh my God, this is getting long again. And it just goes back and forth like that for the whole runtime. And then it ends with that kind of Inception level backwards where they're like, oh, we're not in that house. Oh, we're back here again. And oh, now we're all the way back. And then the cat turns and looks at you at the end. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I want every movie to end with a cat just like turning.
Look at yes. If you can take one lesson from this film, there it is.
Yeah. More cats. I want to start a cat list. Is there a cat list on Letterboxd where I thought every time I see a cat in a movie, I have to mark it down so like have this whole compendium of movies with cats in them.
Yeah.
There must be a list like that. There should be.
There's probably tons of them, yeah.
Yeah.
There are these twin scenes in this. Céline answers the phone early on when Julie's cousin calls. You know, they were like, you know, like little childhood crushes or whatever you want to call them. But Céline, you know, arranges this meeting with him and, you know, meets him in the park and embarrasses him and basically, you know, jettisons him out of Julie's life. And I was like, you know, that was more Julia Berto kind of like half-assing some improv. I really didn't care about that scene. But then we get the kind of reversal later on where Julie goes to perform while Céline is in the ghost house.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to do the performance for Céline. And it's an incredible scene where she's like singing really badly this song, and I guess it's implied that there are investors here for this like potential international tour, but just like the cuts back to them and they're just like blank faces of like, what are we watching? Was great. As she is like breaking down, starts to cry on stage and stuff, and berates them for like objectifying her and stuff. And then you just cut to her like running down the street being chased. It was like too ridiculous to not laugh at. That was one of the best parts.
Yeah, that was great. As you say that, it's just like, you know, imagine. I'm thinking of another argument to present to you. So take it however you want it. But, you know, as you watch a comedic movie or a movie that's full of joy and spontaneity, it's an antidote to that which is darkness. You know what I mean? Like if you spend all your time, you know, there's all these filmmakers that are making movies that are political and they're about dark themes and they have a darkness to it. We need movies that are the opposite of that to kind of provide lightness to our life. You know what I mean? Like, can't just go around watching only dark movies all the time.
Oh yeah. That's right. But as we often say, comedy is hard.
Comedy is hard.
You know, and you're taking a lot of swings if your comedy is 3 hours long. So there's a reason most comedies are 90 minutes. Because it's hard. It's hard to keep the joke rate.
He shouldn't have done that. I think the lesson here is he should never have done Out One. That's what I'm realizing. Because but if you think about it, for all those who loved Out One, and I don't know who you are, message us in the comments explaining why we're wrong about Out One. It being just a little too long.
Well, and you have to wonder about L'Amour Feu, which was his first like super long movie in this style. That thing's like over 4 hours long. It comes out in 1969, but God, there's no way I'd like that, right? At this point.
Well, no. Yeah, so that's the thing. Okay, so he starts off with 4 hours as a feature. That's like his first feature is 4 hours.
It's not his first. It's his first when he develops this like style with the improv and
like Suzanne,
long takes and stuff.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
The Nun. But then he goes and does Out One, which is really just a TV show, if you're honest. Like it's a one series. It's a series. It's like Fanny and Alexander or something, or Scenes of a Marriage. But then it just makes me think like you do Out One, which is the most extreme version of extended scenes and extensive playfulness, just doing whatever you want and not editing it at all. Okay, then you're going to shorten that. And what are you going to get? You're going to get, 3.5 hours of something. Yeah, I think what's interesting about this movie is my takeaway is like, I loved it, but it definitely feels too long at times. For sure.
And I'm looking at his films after this.
Yeah.
They're all fucking 3 hours long. Why is this the default? This was the guy who loved Hollywood films, maybe the most of all the Cahiers du Cinema writers. Why does he not believe in that stricture of like 90 minutes? That's your goal, right? Every minute past that, it's like it better be worth it. What, like, he really kind of went off and decided on something totally different, by the time that he gets to this point.
What a wild guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's stuff to like here. There's stuff to like. I know this. I don't know. I don't know what the experience is going to be listening to this. I think most people like this movie, so sorry for shitting on it. Please come back. I usually don't dislike movies.
Yeah. I'm trying to, if I understood the movie more, which, a lot of comments are like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but it was fun. That's kind of more my speed on this one. And so my arguments were coming from other places, not just here. But yeah, I don't know. It's again, one of those things where sometimes with these crazy films, you'll like it or you won't,
Yeah.
I've had friends watch, the more popular French New Waves, like 400 Blows and things like that. And it's just either too slow or too much for them, which I find that to be amazing. And that it really is a testament to what these guys were doing, because if they could create a movie like that, movies like this that make you be like, what is going on here? And there's problems here, but what's happening? This is crazy. Even today, we have those questions, then they really did change the game. And that's why we look to it, whether we like it or not. It does make me think of, suddenly reminded of Zazie, Dans la Metro.
Yeah. That's your, and conventional is really not the word for that film, but compared to Céline and Julie, right, it feels more conventional and when you're trying to create like a live action cartoon. But that film's terrific. I mean, they are so inventive with all the different weird gags they're coming up with in that.
Yeah.
This is much more of an actor talky, like improv exercise, man. I don't go to improv shows for that reason, I think. Like, right? It's not
I see.
It's not that great.
Right.
It's hard to like do that for an extended period of time and just make it entertaining the entire time.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely have like a nostalgia for this era when you could like make a 16 millimeter film and right, they're like hand editing this, splicing it together and stuff. That effect is really cool. And like, I love that he does go out and just shoot this stuff on the streets and it looks like that era, and, you can't no one makes films really that look like this today. I started watching Castration Movie, which is really interesting, but that is kind of like, if that has a similar effect of being very low budget and looking like it was made today, it is infected by like, right, it's shot with like videotape or something, and it just has a different look than this. Like, in many cases, like, these companies that made the film stock that this stuff was shot on just don't even make that film stock anymore, or those companies don't exist, or, like, there is literally something that can't be replicated here, which gives it a very intoxicating quality, Well,
I will say that you're not alone, and it is partly the reason why we're seeing more films being shot with film cameras like these. So one example is Surratt, which we were talking about before this, was shot on Reflex Super 16 millimeter camera. Yeah, there and others, plenty of others. It's coming back. You had one valve after another with the old format of that one camera, whatever it's called.
The VistaVision, yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting it. You're getting this. But yeah, it didn't, watching Surratt, I didn't feel like anything was lacking with its visuals. And if anything, it just felt more true to what the environment was calling for, something golden and kind of burnt like it is out there in the desert. So,
well, and there's a certain vocal minority right now that is saying that like these large IMAX formats and stuff don't give you that much more that you don't already get from a small format. Like, the 16 millimeter stuff. Like this is great, and there's so much personality to these images, and it's really diminishing returns. It becomes this kind of gimmick to get people interested in it when you start just large format, and it's like, let's think about what we're actually looking at. Yeah.
Did you see there was some pre-sale tickets for Dune 3?
Right.
They were like $1,000 or more than that.
It's ridiculous. You're gonna hype up these more shots of very monocolor looking deserts. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny time. I don't know. You really don't need a lot to make something look visually interesting.
No, you don't. I know. It's one of those things. Again, it goes back to the Cassavetes thing, which we talked about, and in so many cases that this does work, where you don't need the most advanced tech. You need to just know how to use the tech. I'm a wedding photographer, so I have to deal with like people coming up to me asking me about my camera, what lenses I'm using, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what other lenses there are. I don't care, because I know my lenses and I know my camera, and there's like thousands of cameras to choose from. Why would I care about any other cameras? Do you know what I mean? If what I'm using is working for me, then I'm going to talk about what artists inspire me, because there's so many more artists I don't know about that I feel like could be helpful to me. But I don't care about other cameras. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless I found out that this other artist was using a camera that I wanted to replicate, then I'll be like, what camera are they using? But I don't care. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. or think of it this way too. And I know we're getting into the weeds on this, but like if somebody comes up to me and they go, what camera are you using? They've never seen my work. Do you see what I'm saying? They've never seen a single image I've taken, because they're a random guest at a wedding. And yet they're interested in the camera I'm using because they just see me as some kind of professional getting paid to do this. But they've never seen a single shot I've taken. So you're asking for the tech advice before the artist advice. Why don't you find out if this camera even works for me, according to you, your own personal preferences, your own artistic vision, then choose the camera and then decide. The better question to ask is, what's your Instagram, so I can look at your images? And then, how'd you get these shots? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, who cares about IMAX? Who cares about this stuff? It's like, what movie are we watching is more interesting than how big can the image be?
Yeah.
Who cares? You're gonna go watch the Las Vegas ball.
Yeah, the sphere
ball. And it's such a dumb thing, because everyone's sitting like on a 50-degree angle slope, the stage itself, and they all have their iPhones out as they watch this giant ball. It's the stupidest thing. I mean, what are we doing? Who cares about who's performing? It's usually some old kind of the Eagles or something. Like no one's listening to these guys anymore, unless they're in a giant sphere, and then you go and listen to them as you blast through the universe.
No one cared about me until I was in the sphere, man.
I was in the sphere in Las Vegas, which is the only place people go to in Las Vegas anymore. The rest of it's done.
Well, yeah.
Because who cares about the tech? That's the thing. Who cares about the tech?
No, it's not like blank camera does not make your images look like what's his name, the one photographer that they made the movie about. I can't remember his name.
It just came out recently or something.
That y'all saw at Berlin.
Yeah.
Right.
Peter Hujar.
Yeah, you don't get the camera that he used, and that makes your pictures look like Peter Hujar. Like,
right.
No. That's
no.
Yeah, it's like you don't. The fucking North by Northwest doesn't look like that because they used a VistaVision camera. It looks like that because fucking Hitchcock shot it, dude.
If it could be that easy, that would be that I would be. I might not have a job. You know what I mean? Like it takes experience and skill and a dash of vision that can't be described too.
Oh, that's that kind of AI fallacy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the work is everything outside of, capturing the images. It's like, yeah, what other stuff are you looking at for inspiration? What are you thinking about in all the times that you're kind of trial and error, like shooting stuff and seeing how it develops? And right, there's the work, it's the same in writing and stuff. It's like the work is just the trial and error. It is everything beyond, outside of like hitting submit,
and a seriousness too. Like it requires a kind of, I don't know, a dedication that kind of envelops you for some amount of time. It's not like you don't necessarily have to be like obsessed with what you're doing forever. There are people who do, and God bless those artists. But I think you have to at least be obsessed for like a year or two or more, like totally obsessed, where that's just like, that's what you think about, because only then is it like embedded in you and in your spirit and how you shoot and all that stuff, or whatever you're doing, directing, acting, whatever. And then it's changed, and then you become you become a photographer, you become a director. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've been changed by the process of becoming it. So there's a lot of people who have a camera, they've been shooting for years, but they're just somebody who takes photos, to be honest. And there's something slightly different. It's hard to know what that recipe is that makes somebody a photographer, an actual artist. So
yeah. And Céline and Julie, like, it's definitely better than Out One. He probably needed to make Out One to at least make this, like, to recognize what he wanted, to offer the freedom and kind of like, even be open to making a weird film that's like seemingly about nothing, like
it's about magic. It's about friendship. It's about joy. Okay.
Yes, you're so right. And I am such a grouch.
It's about boating. Someone said calling this film Céline and Julie Go Boating is like calling It's a Wonderful Life a guy runs into a tree.
Yeah. I know. I was like, is this the boating? Is this the boating? Is there going to be actual boating in this? That was a fun game.
Well, no. What you're doing is important, though. Actually, you're doing it. You're not doing it willingly, but what you're doing is you're setting the bar. You're setting the expectations at a medium level. Neutral level.
You love this.
Maybe even lower.
Just like,
no, I do that all the time.
Yeah, I
do that all the time because my wife will be like, she'll tell her friends and be like, "Oh, you will love this movie. You're gonna love it." And I'll be like, "Let's lower the temperature just a little bit." And then I'll be like, "You might like it. You might not."
Well, and look, if you're just an adherent to Some Like It Unauthorized, you want to listen to every episode, whether you've watched the film or not. That's really cool. I love that. That's great. I really hope no one is listening to these and not watching the films beforehand. That's just kind of crazy to me. I like go in blind and just see what you think to the movie,
Yeah. We should do like a Patreon where we do like a commentary so they can watch the whole movie and hear us talk about it.
That's what the Blank Check podcast does. They do commentaries on their Patreon.
Yeah, because it's Patreon. It's like you only have access to it if you pay. I think that's how they get away with being able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's kind of.
Is it a first take for them when they're talking about it, or like a second, third take?
What do you mean?
I didn't mean take. I meant like, is it their first time watching or second time watching?
Their commentaries, they've usually seen them before, but they will sometimes purposely wait and only like watch it for the first time when they do the commentary. I think I've seen people comment that like that makes for worse commentaries because it's like they're focused on talking the entire time and they miss what's happening in the movie.
Not great.
No. But it would be funny if we did commentaries and we only like added a little comment once every 15 minutes or something. It's just there's barely any actual content to it.
Yeah. So it's because then otherwise it'd be like a reaction video, which I don't want to. People do that. That's a funny thing. But yeah, just a thought, and you can take out as much of this as you feel free to cut. But yeah, that's the boating adventure.
Awesome. Next week, on the first anniversary of the pod, we will be in person together talking about John Dielman, the #1 film on the 2022 Sight and Sound list.
It's a big deal, man.
It's a big deal, and we've been waiting to watch it together. So you will hear our reactions to finally watching Chantal Akerman's film next week. Go to unauthorizedpod.com in the meantime for that Substack to our letterboxes, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Wanna say,